Hey everybody, this is Grace. And recently, it seems like it's a theme or something that people have been talking about other people being delusional. Delusional is the word. Even Adam has said stuff about people being delusional. And it just seems, like I said, like a theme lately. And I have seen it too. I have done videos, not too long ago, about people I have known over years who they think, I could sum it up, as a composite here, that they think because they've reached some kind of status in their job, and a lot of them are in medical, in whatever way, they've met some status, like office manager or billing manager of medical, or even if they've gone to school back in the day. Back in the day, it's still the day, but back in the say 1990s, maybe it was, I'm not sure anymore, 80s, 90s. Some of these could go to school, I think, for like 5 to 6 weeks and become medical assistants. Now, and this is Texas, now it's like some of them go to school for a year or two to become it, as much as that. But there's still some that get it even less. Some of them are certified, some of them are not. Now, I don't know enough details, I could be wrong on that even, but I've looked it up more than once before. And, I think it's something that changes on a regular basis. But anyway, they reach some kind of status like that, like a medical assistant. And usually the medical assistant is not like a nurse. Okay, not. They are, like CNAs are certified nurses assistants. Okay, so anyway. But they'll elevate themselves to that of, like, some people who just work for a doctor, who answer the phones, who schedule appointments, who, whatever it is that they do, they'll elevate themselves up so high, like as if they are sort of the nurse practitioners, like they are the doctors at that level. They're delusional, okay? And, more people are talking about stuff like this, or people online who think that somehow, some way, I've mentioned this in the past, like, it was a woman who had 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, and she was doing a live stream, and I asked her, what do you think about the new changes? And she said, what changes? And I mentioned them, and she said, well, they didn't ask me, so I don't follow those. They have to ask me first. No, they don't. She had elevated herself that high. In her mind. It's not in reality, but it's in her mind. And I think we use the term delusional sometimes. It's what's difference between, there's like a difference between what we just use, like psycho. We call somebody psycho or schizoid or something like that. When we used to long ago, had nothing to, like the disorder or the whatever, just wasn't the same. But that's kind of like, when we say delusional. Some, not all. But anyway. Okay. Now, I do want to say something before I forget here. Some people think that if they have a big account, if the person they're watching, the video creator they're watching, has a lot of, they have in their mind what is a lot. They have a lot of subscribers, that they're an influencer, and that therefore they know everything and all that. And anybody who doesn't, anybody whose videos don't get watched very often, that they just don't know what they're talking about. Okay, I can tell you that's quite twisted. And quite often, it's the other way around. Okay, I have seen it consistently. I have more than one account Some of my accounts are total flops. I am serious. Like, one of my accounts I've had, I guess, man, how many years? Oh, I'd say, I don't know, maybe 8 years, 7 years, something like that. Still doesn't even have 400. Doesn't even have 400 subscribers. Same kind of content as another one, and it's doing, much better. So I'm going to leave it at that. But 11 years, I have more than one account. I have several, and some are good, some just flop. Seriously, some just flop. Now why, I don't know, but anyway. But what I want to get to is, so I don't sound sound delusional. So when I taught at university, there was this class I taught, and some of the students, one of the students, and the other one said they do something similar, like when they have friends over and they have, basically, I used to call them dinner parties. We used to have them, and have friends over. They'd sit around the table and they talk about it. She told me she didn't need to kiss up. She was making the A her own, all on her own. She said, we talk about what you talk about in class. And she said, we'll debate it and, how we see it and all this. We just go on, and we really enjoy doing that. So, you can have a class and you influence a lot of people. Okay, I had that class. I taught her and the other people in the class. And another one said, we do that too. We talk about this stuff. And some of the others, nobody was getting any grade that they didn't earn in my classes. So, kissing up wasn't going to do anything. And I had groupies. I used to call them groupies. So, yeah, some would say, but they weren't. One of them was. One guy was trying to. But anyway, but overall, you can be someone that's not all that. Like I said, my social media, some of them are flops. And maybe if a couple of people watch it, but those couple of people, one of them might, say 5 people watch it, actually. One of them might be somebody who watches those other people, and your account, yours is just recommended, and they watch yours and they say, wow, she's talking about so-and-so. And then anybody can do that. Next thing, so-and-so, she tells so-and-so, and so-and-so comes and watches it. Okay, or somebody else, she tells, you can influence without meaning to. Like I've said, I'm not trying to influence anybody. All I'm doing is pressure relief valve, venting of what I see. I don't name their channels. I really don't. Like I say, some of these are just like it's scripted. So many people do it. So many people, if they're e-beggars and such like that, it's like they're reading a script on how to do it. They don't do the exact same thing because they're different people, but you get the gist. Anyway. Okay, and by the way, I'm well aware of why my videos are this, and sometimes it is just that my like accounts I don't use very much, they get shadow banned. That's happened, and I learned how to unshadow ban them, but I just don't put a whole lot of energy, because like I say, I'm just venting what I see. I don't say their names and all that. I'm not a gossip channel, not all that. But anyway, these people who, like I'm saying, I'm not trying to be delusional, but people, you can be influential in some ways, even by being small. But if a person puts themselves, knows they're small, and puts themselves up there and that they're these grand influencers and such like that, that's a problem. There's a problem there. So. Now, who should diagnose it? Let's not go there. But one of the things that I see that happens quite a bit is people who, I've made videos about this years, go back years. It's quite often what they do is they become charlatans. I like that word. I like some of these old fat old words like charlatan and cahoots. They're in cahoots with one another. They're charlatans, snake oil salesmen, swindlers, But, they become charlatans in the way that they like I said, they elevate themselves. The first time I saw this was in person, and I knew this woman. And what they do is they think that they have somehow become counselors. They, like I said, they might be office managers, billing managers, medical billing managers are quite often in that field. They may be transcriptionists. When I worked, I worked that field when I was a career student at university, and I worked for orthospinal neurosurgeons and did like surgery scheduling. I even made a what would you call it? Checklist, I guess. And that checklist, before I knew it, I did it in handwriting. Somebody got it from my desk, and the next thing I know, it's just all over the place. And I learned, other people were using it from other surgeons. Okay, I wrote it in handwriting. I didn't put it on the computer. It was just my notes. And I organized them. I'm telling you, people find something and they pounce on it. And like I said, you can be an influencer somewhat, something like this, but did that make me a counselor? Really? I was an interim office manager, did billing, did surgery scheduling, whatever it was, for whatever length of time, But I worked with people, you can see they elevated themselves so high. But their favorite seemed to be that of as a counselor, a therapist, mental. Here we're talking. I'm talking. Why? Why that was the one, I don't know. It just seemed like their favorite. That everybody should listen to them because they know how life should be and how people should live it. And they should listen to them. That was their mentality. Totally, like we use it, delusional. Really? Because you're an office manager? Because you're the billing manager? You suddenly are this counselor, this therapist. And I've seen it in person, and I've seen it online. Okay, people who suddenly become, they think that they can tell everybody. And some of them don't even say things like, they're, what is it called, life coaches. Oh my goodness. They don't even use that. They just act like they are, and then they find out, whoa, you can get in trouble for that? Really? Yeah. Yes, you can. Depending on where you live. It does. It does depend on where you live. Here in Texas, I remember I was told once that anybody can hang a sign out there outside their door, but if they put counselor or therapist on it, something like that, they could, call it a shingle or something like this. They could get in a lot of trouble. Because you can't just say you are something you're not. You're not. Okay? You can't, from what I remember, and it could have changed, lots changed in my lifetime. You cannot say that you're degreed. You have a degree or, degrees, unless you actually do. That it was illegal to do that. Okay, whether that's changed or not, I don't know. I'm not in that. That's not my area of specialization at all, law, any of that. So I don't act as a voice of authority. But I'm not delusional. Well, seriously, that would seem to be the favorite thing was that there were therapists. That people should listen to them. And to me, the people who did that were the people that I would least take any advice, would never take any advice from. Never. And some of them, it was just, hypocrisy, maybe you could say. It was just, they're living their lives and they're living them poorly. They're talking like they can counsel somebody, how to get married or something, and they're divorced. That can happen. Somebody who's divorced can help somebody. People who don't do this in marriage or don't do that, but no. These are people who really don't know, have not experienced this kind of thing. But they act as though, because they elevate themselves to that kind of level in pretty much everything. Yeah. And there is another thing that seems to be, maybe it's something new. Maybe I just wasn't watching any, wasn't recommended any, didn't know that there was there might be a lot, I don't know, I still don't know. But I've seen a few. Suddenly they are clergy people. I wouldn't know what to call them, actually. Don't know what's the word, denomination they would be, what they would call that person, that clergy person, and whatever they are teaching. They're trying to be, like they have a church online. It's all for money. That's a sin right there. You know that, right? I don't know. Is it a sin or what? It's for swindlers to do that. To become false prophets and all that in Christianity. I am not a person who knows everything about Christianity. I don't know about other ones, so I don't even try. I do know a bit about Christianity, but not enough to act as some voice of authority. I'm not. But they didn't think they are. They've somehow elevated themselves to that level. I guess maybe the life coaches and stuff like that, that wore out, because that went on for a long while. And now they're moving to become clergy people, to swindle money off of people, their audiences. I don't know. That's just kind of disgusting. That is disgusting. It's despicable. And I've already mentioned one of my major things is trying to learn that whole, not learn it, to do it, is hate the sin, love the sinner. It's difficult, but I'm working on it. But anyway, these are people who actually start making videos, and they're preaching to their, gospel to, that's a good way to put it, preaching gospel to their audiences and making money off of it. And when they do things like they take God's name in vain, they'll do it right then and there. And they do it in those funny things that people think they're funny, but that is taking God's name in vain. The funny things that people say, and they use God or the Lord and such, in it, or expressions. Uh-oh, the alarm went off. Okay, now, in something like that, some people can say they're not at all delusional. The people who have decided to, like they're life coaches or they're preaching gospel, that they're not at all delusional. It's just that they are swindlers. They're just using it. Okay, so you could see it that way too. The false prophets or whatever. But anyway, I've seen so much of this. It's like I said, when I was young, I used to say that my life seems to go in themes. I said that even when I first started making videos. I don't know how many years ago. That was the last time I said it. But yeah, it seemed like this was the focus on and I'm not talking about just me, I'm talking about people I don't even know. I see something recommended on my channel, when I'm watching videos, something's recommended, and I'm like, wow. Like those people who go to food pantries to get, despicable people. They go to food pantries to get free food, It's meant for the truly needy, but they're middle class, and they work, they have jobs. They work, they have jobs. Their spouses work jobs. Sometimes their kids that live at home, adult or teenage, whatever, they work jobs. They have enough money for groceries, but they want to save their money, so they go get free food at a food bank, which is made for, like I said again, the truly needy, but they just take it. Midstream there, I started having a little coughing fit that was coming up. So anyway, the rest of my thoughts just flew out the window. I've been sick. This is September 29th, and I have been sick, ill, whatever, for most of this month, for a month now, for most of it. And I used to have something like this, but at the same time not. And it was allergies. And it was usually, though, in November, and again in like end of January, beginning of February, or maybe just one of the two. And the doctors would say it's allergies. I was saying, are you sure it's not flu? But by the time I went to the doctor, it would have been too late to test. They said, no, it was allergies. And it would pretty much knock me out for a month. I'm serious. And now I think it's because, I am not a doctor. I'm not anywhere, anything of a voice of authority on medical. But could be the stuff that the doctors have said, like my doctors have told me to take. I'm not going to say what. Adam's doctors told him to take. I'm not going to say what. And actually did the trick, for us. And different doctors, they probably don't even know one another, maybe, but it did the trick, that we're don't get as ill as we used to, or maybe just time, who knows. I'm not a voice of authority on it. But anyway, whatever this is, it makes me tired. And I remember when I was young, I would be so tired, so sleepy. And like, I'd say the second week into this, I couldn't stay awake. I could go to the bathroom and go back to bed. And eating was very, very seldom. I think I would get something. I would, because I'm anemic and I wasn't going to get worse. But some of it was, I could only eat cake. I don't eat cake. I'm diabetic. I mean, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to say more. I'm not a voice of authority. And I have a rare health condition that makes everything kind of wonky anyway. But, yeah, I basically could go get something to eat, very little, but still, don't kill myself by not eating. And, that was it for like a week or two. Like the second and third week of it, I don't know. And since then, I'm still tired a lot. I sleep a lot. And it's not that I want to sleep a lot. It's that I'm that tired. Whatever this is, and like I said, it's maybe something similar to when I was younger, and it's just not as bad, because I remember getting, like, my ears would hurt so bad, and my throat, my chest. It would be like a cold flu, but they would tell me it's allergies. And, stuff like that. Now it's not a focus on that. It's just that I'm tired. So, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.